Hey everybody, this is BoatsDon'tSink, Connor here. Today I have a little late, but BanG Vol.2. The set came out last week in English, and despite the fact we don't really have any tournaments going on right now, so it's kind of hard to sort of gauge the meta and see where things are as far as what decks people are playing and what's strong. This is the newest update to BanG, which it's like the fifth set for them, so they have a lot of cards. The deck was already pretty good, and this one adds some more, definitely some more support for the specific band decks, but also some support for the just sort of overall generic music deck. So today, let's see, we've got our my top 10 cards from the set. Most of these are going to be focused on the just sort of generic music deck as opposed to the specific band ones, since I don't think any of the cards in the set really pushed any of the specific band decks outside of like poppin'party into the realm of where you'd really consider them for a big tournament over the music deck. But here we go. At number 10, I have Practice Interval, Kasumi Toyama. So this is a common from the set. On play from hand, pay 1, discard an event to add an event from your waiting room back to your hand. So we've often seen in the past characters that can do this for climaxes, where you'd pay 1, discard a climax to add a climax, and it basically just gives you consistency for your climaxes in that case so that you always have the right one. This does the same thing for events, which in BanG we have a lot of events. This is just sort of a handful of the poppin'party ones, but there's like 4 events now for every band outside of Reza Suilin. But even Reza Suilin has 2 events. So there's just a ton of events in BanG, and a good number of them are pretty useful. These are the main ones. Something in the Warehouse, That Irritating Girl, and Buns for Luck are the main events that see play, but there are a couple of others that are worth considering. And Kasumi makes sure that you can sort of always have the right one. BanG has a notable lack of like cantripping level 3s that are like check top X or draw 2 ditch 1 or whatever that are good enough to see play in decks. So Buns for Luck often is a card that you just have to draw into and hold. But with this Kasumi, you can play your 1 or 2 copies of Buns for Luck, and even if you draw one of your 4 copies of a different event, you can swap it into the correct event for sort of whatever situation you need. Or if you draw Buns for Luck, but you would rather have something in the Warehouse to mill out, right? You can swap that around. And it even makes some of these events like Enthusiastic Huddle, which is one of the new 3-0 events from the set. It's Brainstorm, choose up to 1 poppin'party in your waiting room, return it to your hand. Then you flip over 5 cards from the top of your deck, put them in waiting room, and if all of them are poppin'party characters, you deal 3. You're pretty much never going to hit that, but you can sort of play this card and not really be as worried about it because you can just, say you need a specific level 3, but you drew That Irritating Girl instead, right? You can play the Kasumi, swap it into your 3-0 event, play the event, salvage the poppin'party, and maybe you hit your Brainstorm. So it makes a lot of events that might not otherwise be playable like decent tech options, so you just play the 1 copy of the 3-0 event or whatever. So it opens up a lot of stuff like that. It opens up a lot of consistency with Buns for Luck, it's a stock swap. It's a card that is incredibly powerful, but only, at the specific right time. So Kasumi just gives you the option to sort of swap that around a little bit and increase your consistency there. At number 9, I have Supreme Music Lock. So this is one of the 3-2s for Reza Suilin, which is the new band that is getting its first wave of support in this set. This is an early play if you have 4 or more Reza Suilin characters on stage. So this is pretty much locked into just the band-specific deck. It becomes a 10k if you have 2 or more other Reza Suilin characters, and it has an Accelerate effect, which is this band's sort of main theme. So you put a music character from your waiting room onto the bottom of your clock. That is something unique with Reza Suilin. Instead of accelerating from top of deck, they mostly accelerate from waiting room, so you get to pick specific cards to go into your clock. which is good. It means you don't accelerate climaxes as often. During the turn that it's placed, at the beginning of the climax phase, you can accelerate. If you do, it gains 1500, so it goes up to 11.5 for the turn. And it gains on attack, search your deck for 2 Raise a Suiling characters, or yes, you guys are the best. Reveal them to your opponent, put them in your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this makes this a plussing level 3, I guess. If you're used to like cantripping ones where they draw 2 to 1 or whatever and just replace themselves, this is replacing itself and getting you an additional card for the cost of clocking 1. But it also gets pretty big during the turn that you do that, so that's pretty good. Overall, it's a really strong card, I think. It helps you set up really well. The event that it grabs is a 2/2 counter. If all of your characters are Raise a Suilan, choose one of your opponent's characters in battle. That character gets -2 soul until end of turn and draw up to 1 card. If you draw 1, you discard 1. A little bit of hand filter, and -2 soul. So not quite anti-damage, but if your opponent doesn't play a climax or whatever, this could very well just be anti-damage for a lane. So grabbing that's pretty decent. It can make up for the fact that you're clocking yourself to get this card advantage, which that is one of the big things you want to do if you're an Accelerate deck, is have a way to make up for it. So this can do that pretty well, but you can also use it to search characters. So you can search your level 3, your Climax combo level 3 that also heals, which can make up for your damage. Or you can just search counters. If you're not going to like hit your opponent to level 3 or whatever, you can grab counters to protect your lock, just to keep her around for an additional turn. So you can get the anti-change counter, and Raise a Suilan has a 3k 2/1 counter. Unfortunately, they don't have any like 3500s or special effect level 2 counters. These are the only 2 they've got, so you're stuck searching one of those for now. But even then, it's still pretty good. Even just searching like 2 of the level 3 layer to set up for level 3 is just really good. It increases your consistency and gives you hand advantage. At number 8, I have Music of Smiles, Kokoro Tsurumaki. So this is one of the other level 3s, sort of designed for the band-specific deck. But it doesn't have to be in the band-specific deck. There's nothing that requires all of your characters to be Hello Happy World here or anything. But this card is really interesting. So when it attacks, you can choose a yellow card in your waiting room and put it on top of your deck, so you get to control what your trigger is. You can only trigger yellow cards if you use the effect, but you get to control your trigger, which is really good for endgame, since this is on a level 3. And then the second effect is a Climax combo. At the end of the attack, if Smile in the Night Sky is in your Climax area, you can discard 2 and put this into your waiting room to search your stock for a Hello Happy World character that is not Music of Smiles Kokoro Tsurumaki. Put it on the stage position this card was on, and shuffle your deck. So it can like pseudo restand, or shuffle your stock, sorry. You can like pseudo restand into any Hello Happy World character. Unfortunately, most of them aren't going to get like their on play effects, since they're not coming from hand, they're coming from stock. But there is one that is designed specifically to work with this. The Climax is a choice trigger. This is the first choice trigger we've received in English. Which choice is, when this triggers, you can choose a character with soul in its trigger icon in your waiting room, and either return it to your hand or put it in your stock. And it's 1000 power and 1 soul. So this is the first one of these we've gotten. It's yellow's only plussing trigger, which is really nice, and it plays really well with this Kokoro. Since you have to discard 2, you can put the choice triggers on top of your deck if you need extra hand to trigger them and get by extra cards to your hand to discard for her effect, which is pretty nice. And then we have this Misaki, is also a level 3 from the set. This does have an effect that specifically activates when it's placed by the Climax combo of Kokoro. So when this card is placed on the stage from your hand, or by the auto effect of Music of Smiles Kokoro, you may put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. This has actually been errated. It's put up to 1 card from the top of your clock into your waiting room. Basically the same effect. The difference is that the way it was worded previously, if you didn't heal, you couldn't. The rest of the effect is choose up to 1 character in your waiting room with Kokoro in its name, put it face up underneath this as a marker. The way it's printed on the card, if you choose not to heal, you also can't get the marker. It's errated so that even if you don't heal, you can still get the marker. And the marker is pretty easy to get if you bring it out by Climax combo, because you can just marker the level 3 Kokoro. right? And if it has a marker, it gains 7,000 power, so it becomes 11.5. And at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you can pay 1 to swap it with one of your other Hello Happy World and stand them. So it's a field swap. A little less relevant there, but it heals. So if you're summoning this out of your stock, you get sort of like a restand finisher, and you get to heal. And 11.5 might just win board defensively. So it's, pretty good setup there if you're playing for a little bit of a longer, like 2-turn kill or whatever. But something that's also cool that Kokoro can do is you can play this with shot triggers, right? And there's Hello Happy World has 2 level 1 combos on shot triggers right now. It has the Girl Spin Party 1 Kokoro. Her climax was reprinted in Multi-Live as a shot trigger. And then the Girl Spin Party Volume 2 Kanon has a shot trigger. So if you play either of these as your level 1 combo alongside Kokoro, you can use her effect to stack the shot trigger on top of your deck. Which means that you effectively have Cancel Burn 1 into Restand. And then your Restand, you can choose whether you're bringing out, either a 1-soul character or a 2-soul character a lot of the time. Which lets you sort of modulate your soul damage, whether you need to swing for 2 or swing for 3. So you get like a sort of... This is more of if you're going all in on the finisher. But the fact that you can choose between... If you just like play the Kanon level 1 combo, you can choose, oh hey, I'm going to play a little slower and go into Misaki and heal, or I can play more aggressively if I see that I just need, 3 more damage to kill my opponent. I can put a shot trigger on top, swing, I either kill them there, or I get the cancel burn and then I summon a 2-soul character, or like a 1-soul character that swings for 2 with the climax in play. So it gives you, option to go in and sort of more consistent finish. So I think this is sort of the most powerful finisher that the set got that's not just for the generic music deck, since it is designed more for the Hello Happy World. But again, you only need to summon a Hello Happy World from stock and have yellow cards to put on top of deck. So like, really, you can play any number. You can play like the generic music deck and just play this as your finisher if you want the choice trigger. And then whenever you attack with Kokoro, you can stack the Hello Happy World character from waiting room to top of deck, trigger it, and then summon it immediately. So it can just go in the generic music deck, and it's fine. Number 7, we have Music of Bonds, Kasumi Toyama. So first effect is on attack, you give a character 1500 power, which is a honestly huge power boost. It's bigger than we usually see on these things. Usually like level 0s with utility effects are pumping like 500 or 1000. So 1500 is really good. And then auto, at the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, if all of your characters are Poppin'party, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card's level 1 or higher, you may return this card to your hand. So kind of just the generic coin flip effect. We've seen this on a Nodoka in Bunny Girl Senpai. I think that's the main place English has it right now that you see it. JoJo's also has it on a level 0 Doppio. But this one, instead of just revealing the top card of your deck, it does require all your characters to be Poppin'party. So you would think this locks it kind of into the Poppin'party deck. Strangely enough, not really. There are a lot of good, just generic Poppin'party cards, which these bottom 2 from the new set do both also check for Poppin'party, but they're generic enough for the same reasons that you can kind of play them in the music deck. And then the Remy Brainstorm just goes in the music deck. The Arisa level 0 can go in the regular music deck. So you can actually just play this. It's like if you play this turn 1, right, as your attacker, it's your only character. So yes, all your characters are Poppin'party, and you get to do the coin flip effect anyway. Or even if you played this alongside like one other 0 that's a Poppin'party, you're still going to get the coin flip effect. So early in the game when it's more relevant, it probably doesn't matter if the rest of your deck isn't Poppin'party, because you can still get the effect pretty consistently. And then like this Arisa is a pretty good 0 down here as well. During your opponent's turn, if all your characters are Poppin'party, it gains a level in 15, so it becomes a 4K. If you just play that and the Kasumi as you're like plussing 0s, even if you play one of each down at level 0, the RE says 4K level 1 regardless of whether the Kasumi bounces back or not, and the Kasumi gets the chance to bounce back. So you can fit these into the generic music deck. This card's just a really good plussing zero that can dodge reverses and whatnot, but also doubles as a power pump. So if you need to clear a lane for like Fever Kasumi, or if you need to pump Yukina to get a little bigger to get over something, or if you're playing like an early play killer, right, and you need to pump it an extra 1500 to get over your opponent's counter or whatever, you can do that. So it just has sort of, the power pump has utility all throughout the game, and the coin flip effect is just makes it a good plussing zero, so it fills multiple roles there. Number 6, we have Engine On Misaki Okusawa. So this is a 1/1 with a soul trigger, of course. Continuous, during your turn, all of your other Hello Happy World characters get plus X power. X is equal to that character's level times 500. That is probably the line of text you'll forget about the most, because it doesn't really do much with this card's main intention. You can play this card in the Hello Happy World decks, and it's a global level assist on your turn, which is really good. That is really good for just getting your power up in the Hello Happy World deck. But we're mainly playing this for the two act abilities. The first one is pay 1, put 1 card from your hand into your waiting room to return one of your opponent's characters to hand. And the other one is rest this card up to once per turn, choose one of your characters, and stand it. So this card's mainly filling the same role that in the past we've had the Magic of Smiles Hagumi for, which is to return your opponent's characters to hand. Whenever your opponent has something problematic on board that you need to deal with, this is how you can answer that. The big difference here is that Hagumi was on play. This Misaki does it as an act ability, meaning you can do it multiple times in a turn, and it also means that we can play standby and summon this out off of a standby, and not lose the on-play effect. We can just stand by it to backstage, and then once we need to actually start bouncing things, we can bounce things. So it's not an attacker like Hagumi, and it is going to take more resources, right? Because Hagumi, you're paying the 2 stock and playing it, and you get to attack with it. Misaki, even just to bounce one thing, you're paying 1 stock to play it, 1 stock for the effect, so you're still at 2 stock, and you also have to discard a card. And you can attack with it, but it's not a 2-soul attacker. So if you're just bouncing 1 opponent character, it's generally a little worse than the Hagumi. But it does have nice synergy with standby, and you can use it to bounce multiple characters, which is going to be relevant in matchups like Fate, where your opponent might have multiple riders, Fujimi Fantasia Bunko, where your opponent's got the 3/4 counter, and you might need to bounce, multiple characters just to turn that off in multiple lanes. Or against Minus Soul decks, where they're going to have, say, 2 Priestess or 2 Amelia or 2 Siege on board, and you need to, or even 3 sometimes, you need to bounce multiples to keep your soul count high enough to deal damage through their effect. So these are the kinds of matchups where Misaki is going to be better than Hagumi. And it's not even a dead card in back row if you do end up standbying it out a bit earlier in the game. Since you can rest it to stand another character, it works really well alongside other backstage characters that have effects to rest themselves. So with the Remy Brainstorm, you can brainstorm twice in 1 turn if you need to. With Arisa, you can pump power twice in 1 turn. And if you have a lot of stock for some reason, with Tomoe, you can pay 2 rest, heal, and then stand it, and pay 2 rest it again to heal again, right? So the last act ability here kind of just sort of clones whatever self-rest abilities your other character might have. So it gives it a little bit of utility that's just sort of good throughout the game. And then it also gives you the option to bounce your opponent's characters. And if you're playing any Hello Happy World characters, you can pump their power really big. I don't think there's really any Hello Happy World characters you're splashing right now outside of maybe like the Kokoro Musashi effect, which giving that plus 1500 on offense isn't the worst thing in the world at all. Or if you're splashing into the Kokoro choice finisher from this set that I just showed, you can pump that really big to get over lanes. Number 5, we have Desperate Invitation Lock. This card is sweet. I really like this card a lot. So when this card attacks, if the character facing this card is level 3 or higher, this gets plus 4,000 power and plus 1 soul until end of turn. So it becomes an 11k 2-soul attacker against early plays, which, with the early plays that we're seeing a lot right now in the field, 11k is actually generally big enough. They're either really small early plays like Kaede, or they gain power on your own turn or something. We're not seeing a whole lot of early plays that are 11k or bigger cross turn. You've got like Adventure with Everyone Lisbeth and stuff like that from Sword Art. But even then, if you're playing Remy Brainstorm, your 500 pump gets you to 11.5 and you're bigger anyway, or you play a Climax. So these are pretty good power line, and it gets you 2 soul for 1 stock. However, the other effect on this card is when this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may put this card into your memory. If you do, at the beginning of your next draw phase, choose one Desperate Invitation lock in your memory, and put it on any position of your stage. So we see here like sort of a combination between Mommy's Magical Silver Gun, or Lightning Flash Asuna, as more people are probably going to know it, and Usual Haruhi, which sends itself to memory and comes back at draw phase. Usual Haruhi is usually played as like a plussing level 1 instead of a Climax combo or alongside a Climax combo. Since going to memory and coming back means your character won't die. You get a free attacker for next turn, basically. It's a lot better when it's on a costed character that has, stats that align with being a costed character. Because you basically get the value of your costed character for 2 turns. Or at least 2 turns, right? And it's really good with something that gains burst power here, because we're going to be able to get reverses more often, and deal with level 3s. So with this card you can, swing into your opponent's early play. If you reverse it, and it looks like you're going to hit your opponent to level 3, you can maybe go off to memory, so that your opponent can't get a reverse combo on you at level 3 or whatever. And then come back next turn, and you're a 2-soul beater into whatever level 3s they played. Or, if it looks maybe like you're not going to hit them to level 3, you can leave it on board. So it's a level 2 that they might have to frontal attack into, and it gives you the option to like anti-change counter their new early play that they might play down. Or just be a 7k that, beats over whatever level 0 or 1 they put on the board in the place of their early play that you killed. So it gives you cool sort of options, since it's, it's optional whether you send it to memory or not. And it's also just a really efficient way to deal with early plays offensively without sort of sacrificing board slots that like bombs might do or anything like that. So I like this card a lot for being a 2-soul beater that does that. At number 4 we have Here Is Where I Belong, Tai Hanazono. This is a level 0 that I showed a bit earlier. It's a level 0 bottom deck bomb, and then it has an act, pay 1, put this into your waiting room, look at top 4 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 poppin'party, reveal it, put it in hand, and put the rest into your waiting room. So this sort of fills the same deck slot that the Sayo bottom deck bomb has in the past, where it's good for, removing whatever cards your opponent might have that have on-death effects. Nuisance Megumin, for example. But Sayo, notably, is also a plussing 0, where if you field her and she gets reversed, you can pay 1 to save her. Tai is not going to be able to do that, but you trade that off for utility later in the game, where it gives you mill throughout the entire game, and it gives you hand fix throughout the entire game. Similar to Okinami, you see here from Kantai Collection. That's just about the only other card that's really seen a lot of play with this effect in English. But it's a pretty good effect overall. This one is limited to poppin'party as opposed to music, but even in the generic music decks, there's a lot of poppin'party characters that see play. And you only need about 20 to 22 poppin'party characters in your deck to have like a 90% chance to be hitting on this. So like between Brainstorm, Arisa 0, a lot of decks play the Remy level 1 and the Saya level 1. If you're playing the Saya level assist, the new Tai level 1 combo is really good, and I think we're going to see a lot of decks playing that. And even if they don't, there's the Fever Kasumi level 1 combo that people have been playing up until now. You can't grab Christmas Kasumi, unfortunately. So that's a level 1 combo you can't get, but a lot of the other level 1 combos you can. A lot of the utility level 1, a lot of utility 0s. I don't think we really have any Poppin' Party early plays that are seeing play right now. But you know, you still get just a good number of options. The new costumey finishers Poppin' Party, obviously, and you know, a number of other cards. So it's not too hard to fit enough Poppin' Party in a deck that this card hits pretty consistently, even if you're not the dedicated Poppin' Party deck. So yeah, it's just a good, you know, it's an early level 0. If you play it, also, your opponent's usually not going to crash into it, right? Because like this isn't a deck that plays low level 0 count, so it's usually not worth it for them to remove their own character, especially since you don't have reverse combos most of the time in BanG Dream. Number 3, we have Time for Our Live, Kasumi Toyama. So this is the Poppin' Party finisher I was talking about. During your turn, if you have 2 or more other Poppin' Party characters, this card gets plus 4,000 power. And Climax combo, on attack, pay 1, discard 1, deal 1, and you gain an ability. At the beginning of the Encore step, if the Climax is in your Climax area, and there is no character facing this card, or the character facing this card is reversed, you may pay the cost. If you do, deal 3 damage to your opponent. The cost is pay 1, discard 1. So overall, it's pay 2, ditch 2, deal 1, deal 3. With the 3 being at Encore step, and the 1 being on attack. Notably, the 1 does not require the Climax, so even if you don't get the Climax, you can pay 1, ditch 1, deal 1. Which is pretty solid. Normally that effect costs pay 2, ditch 1. The Climax for the combo is a standby, which has some pretty good synergy with the combo, honestly. I think a comeback would have been fine here too, but standby is definitely really good with it. The combo itself is sort of a combination between like Mikasa and Yukina, where you get your 4 damage across 2 instances, like Yukina. But like Mikasa, you can get half of it without your, or not quite half in this case, but you can get one of your instances, even if you don't get the climax for the combo. And you don't actually have to reverse anything for this one. If you direct attack into an empty slot, you still get your complete combo, which is really, really nice, because being a standby, it allows you to play sort of like big global 1500s and 2k assists and whatnot, and like big 11k 2-2s. So you can do these things where you wall up, and if you win board and play your Kasumi into that open board, you can still get combo without needing to reverse anything. The trade-off is that you don't have an on-play effect here, but you're a lot bigger. You're 13k during your turn, as opposed to the 11.5 from Mikasa or 11.5 from Yukina, which both of those go to 12.5 and 13.5 with their climaxes, but you're just 13 always here, with a climax, without a climax, and you get it for longer than just on during that turn, whereas like Mikasa, the turn after, if she lives, she's not going to be 11.5 again. But, like I said, you lose an on-play, so you can't dig for your climax, you can't heal, nothing like that. You're sort of just an all-in, like, this is the turn where I'm going to kill you. But your numbers are very good at that. They're very comparable to these other finishers. Deal 1, deal 3, in multiple lanes can definitely kill someone. And, since you're on a standby, you actually get pretty good access to... You can fulfill the 2 or more poppin'party conditions super easy. Usually you're just gonna like your other copies of Kasumi, and maybe your Brainstorm or whatever are gonna fulfill it. But you can also say standby out the 3/2 Kasumi that's a global 1500, right? So that's an additional 1500 power and a poppin'party to fulfill your condition. So you're now like 14.5, and I think this card should pretty much always be at least 14.5 swinging, which is really big and really good. You can play the level assist Saya to block counters, or even just to standby it out to get another 1500 power in 2 lanes. But you can use it to block counters, so you guaranteed win a lane and get your combo off. Really good card, a really good finisher. You just sort of have to weigh whether you're okay with it being like as all in as it is. Whereas Yukina, you can play them down and heal and not really do combo and save resources. Mikasa at least sort of refills your hand. Kasumi is killing or doing nothing. So you do have to sort of weigh that a little bit. Number 2, we have Supreme Music Layer. This is on play mill 2. It gains plus X until end of turn. X is the number of music characters revealed times 1,000, so it can go up to 4K if you mill 2 music characters. And on play, pay 1, clock 1 to choose a level 1 or lower character in waiting room and return it to your hand. Clock-based plussing is something that BanG has not had, something they've been wanting for a long time. The only card they've really had that does it is the Twinkle Star Kasumi from set 1, but it's on death instead of on play, and it can also only grab the names of the poppin'party characters. But this layer can grab everything, and it's on play. So you get to play it, grab something, and use it in that same turn, whereas Kasumi is a bit delayed. So you get your info, but you also can't use it. Like, a lot of times these salvage ones are good when you level up to level 1, and you play them and you salvage, whatever was in your clock or whatever you've milled at level 0. Whereas Twinkle Star Kasumi couldn't really do that as consistently. So Layer's really good for, it's a selective plus, it can help set up your combo in multiple lanes, and since it gains power on play, you can use it to deal with opposing oversizes. Even if you just play this turn 1 and don't get the plussing effect, you can go up to 4K, deal with like a Goblin Slayer, Chaser, or any other oversize like that. And maybe play another copy later to get the plussing effect. Or, if you can play it, get the plussing effect, and kill something, right? So the power is pretty neat, especially if you do this going into like your level 1 combo. Because you can salvage your level 1 combo, play the climax. Now there's a 5K that might even be dealing with your opponent's level 1. Who knows? So pretty good. Mainly just here because it's mill, it's plussing, it's something that BanG has not had and has finally gotten 5 sets in. So really big card that helps the consistency of the deck a lot, especially with how many good utility level 0 and 1s BanG has. Has a lot more than most sets. And my number 1 slot, we have Music of Bonds Tae Hanazono. So this is the new level 1 combo for poppin'party, but probably just also for the generic music deck. I know some people still prefer like Christmas Kasumi to this, but I think this is definitely one of the best climax combos we've seen. And though, okay, so on its own, I actually don't think it's very great, but BanG has specific tools that go alongside this that make it very powerful, and I'll explain those in a moment. So this is continuous. If you have 2 or more other poppin'party characters, this card gets plus 2,000 power. And then on attack, if the climax is in your climax area and you have 2 or more other poppin'party characters, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. Your opponent chooses 1 character or event card from amongst them. You put that card into your hand, and then you choose up to 1 card from the remaining 2, put it on the top of your deck, and you put the rest into your waiting room. So obviously, from the beginning, this is going to seem kind of mediocre, because your opponent gets to choose what card you get, but you get to choose what goes on the top of your deck, which, when combined with some of the other tools BanG has, is quite good. And we'll look at, here's the climax. It is a gate trigger, so it is a plussing climax. It is a 1k one. It is pretty good at looping into itself, because you get to stack cards on top of your deck off of this. If you reveal a gate and you have another one in your waiting room, you can, stack it on top, trigger it, and then add another copy of the climax to your hand, so that you can do the combo again next turn, maybe. But the main place, so first, this is 6k. 6k is big. 6k is sort of the highest power tier of level 1 combos we see right now, alongside Goblin Slayer and Bunny Girl Union, both of which are huge players in the meta right now. They're both seen as some of the best level 1 combos. So being 6k is huge, especially not needing to reverse. Really akin to Goblin Slayer in that aspect, which I don't think anybody's going to tell you that Goblin Slayer is not a good level 1 combo. So yeah, 6k is huge. It means you can use counters alongside this and win board. And winning board with a level 1 combo is honestly huge. You get direct attacks on the next turn, your opponent has to keep replacing their characters. It's really good for you, if you can win board with a level 1 combo. Also means you can loop combo a lot easier without having to worry about your character dying. But the 2 cards that BanG really has that go alongside this so well The big one is That Irritating Girl, the toilet event. So this is from set 1. For those of you that don't know what it does, you can't play it if you have 2 or less music characters. You choose a music character in your waiting room and put it into your stock, so you're already +1 stock. And then you choose one of your characters, and it gains the following ability. When this card attacks, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a music character, put it into your hand. So it replaces itself and gives you a stock. But it only replaces itself if you hit the top check. Well, Tae gets to stack a card on top of your deck. Meaning, you reveal top 3, your opponent gives you 1, and then you say, hey, well, I want this character, so I'm going to put it on top, reveal it for toilet, and add it to hand. Meaning you basically also get to pick one of the cards, as long as it's a character, right? And if your opponent, say, gives you the only character, and you're left with like a climax and event, you can just put them both into the waiting room, and then top check the next card, which at that point you're pretty likely to hit a character again. So it helps you guarantee your toilets to cantrip, but it also gives you a little bit of choice as to what you get off of the toilet. Which is just really strong in the long run. Like, you're going through, when you're playing multiple Tae combos, you're seeing so many cards off the top of your deck. Even just getting to choose one of them is really good, and can help you sculpt your hand really well. Especially when it's like a counter or something and you get to do combo again next turn. The other thing that's really strong alongside Tae is standby triggers, which we got a pretty good standby combo with the Kasumi finisher in this set. BanG Dream also has like 6 other standbys, so you got plenty of options. But standby is nice because you can, if you see one in your top 3 off of Tae, you can just put it back on top, trigger it, and get a 2/2 on board or whatever. Or if you're at level 2, you can get one of the global 1500s. So you get to dig a lot deeper if you're trying to hit standbys. Especially say you're against a deck that has a 6k reverse combo or whatever, and you really want 2/2s alongside so you've got the counter in hand and you want to get 2/2s on the board to wall up the other lanes. Like, you get to look at top 3, and if there's not a standby, you can just put the extras in waiting room and trigger the 4th card. So you get to go through 12 cards on triple Tae combo to try to find a standby. That's a lot of cards. Like, you can pretty much force yourself into hitting standbys to get like really good board presence with Tae. And the same applies to any other climax too, right? It doesn't have to be standby. If you're playing like comeback triggers, or even 8 gate triggers, I know a lot of people play this with like the minus Soul Arisa level 3. You can dig for those climaxes as well. So if you're playing comebacks, you can dig to get your selective salvage, since Tae is not super selective on her own. If you're playing gates, you can dig to keep looping climaxes, etc. Like, whatever climax you want to play, you can dig towards its trigger. Which is really good in this deck. Standby is just sort of like the most impactful one to trigger. But yeah, Tae gives you a lot of options. She's big, she's card advantage, she has a plus in climax, and she makes the toilet event honestly just insane. Being able to guarantee that it replaces itself and giving you free stock is just so good. So looking at my top 10, here they are, recapping through them. Leave that up for just a second. You can see it's a lot of poppin'party. I think the poppin'party deck kind of jumped ahead a pretty good bit with this set. Though Roselia is definitely up there. Funnily enough, it didn't have any cards in the top 10 because they're all so pushed into like specifically the Roselia deck. But Roselia got a really big boost from the set. Even though it was already a really good mono band deck, but it got some more good cards to push it. Hello Happy World and Reza Suilan got some good stuff. Afterglow can't really figure out what it's trying to do between whether it wants alarms or whether it wants treasures or whether it wants both or whatnot. So it got some good cards to help either of those builds. Pastel Palettes didn't really get anything in this set. All the cards are sort of self-contained since it's so like color reliant. It seems like it changes up which colors it wants in the back row and which colors it wants in the front, like every set. So these don't really work with the old stuff, and I think the old stuff's actually just better for pastel palettes. But yeah, here we go, top 10. Most of these for the generic music deck. And here is updated tier list as of this set. I have moved Gun Gale down to B. I know I've talked about it a lot in the past. I think the deck just doesn't quite hold up anymore. It's early. It used to be really good at doing the early play stuff, but a lot of other decks can just do that now and deal with it. There's a lot of ways to remove early plays. A lot of anti-change counters, a lot of early play killers, etc. So we do have Gun Gale bumped down. Other than that, like, Bang Dream was kind of in a point of contention before as to whether it was like A tier or A plus, or where it really fit in there. I think after this set, it's pretty solidly A plus. So it's still just sitting up there. Not much else has changed really, especially since we haven't had tournaments. A tier is a little small, B tier is a little big. That's fine. A and A plus together are the same size as B, which A and A plus aren't very far apart in power level. It's more just how easy it is to respond and deal with what the decks do, which the A tier decks are a little easier to deal with as far as interrupting their game plan. But yeah, so this is updated tier list. Thank you guys for watching. I'll have some sample deck lists out soon. I know this video is coming out a little late, but check me out on Twitter. Check out the global community on Facebook. Join the Discords. Links to those will be in the description. And check out my the store that I work for on TCG Player Card Addicts. We've started opening a lot of Weiss, starting with about Goblin Slayer. So anything 2020, we should have a pretty good bit of. We've got Bang Dream singles up on the store now. I'm not actually sure how many of those are left, but we definitely got them up. So yeah, check us out. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.